Belichick are both highly respected for their strategic approach to executing a game plan against an opponent. So this Sunday, it'll be interesting to see who has the mental edge in their first ever head-to-head matchup. So Shannon, who will be the better chess master? It's a good way to look at it. Brady or Belichick?
Brady. Brady has a big advantage, Skip, because he knows all the personnel. He knows all the checks, all the calls. There's nothing Mac Jones can say that Brady hadn't heard for 20 years. He knows all the personnel. See, the thing is that Coach Belichick might know Tom Brady. He might know Gronk and AB a little bit. But I know every call. He's mentioned it, Skip. I know what's going to be said in the meeting. I know what time they're going to practice. I know how they're going to practice. I know the way the wind's going to blow at night. I know everything there is to know about that organization. Now, he might know from a distance, but Brady had 20 years of intimate, personal being right there. So how does Mac Jones make a call that Brady hadn't said, okay, Todd, when you line up in this, if they line up in this formation, you line up in this defense. Todd Bowles, the D coordinator for Tampa. Todd, if they line up in this formation, you line up in this defense, this is what their checks are. So when you hear him do this, what would you do? He can do that. Because we hear all the time how players at one location, they go to another location. I think Orlando Brown and Sammy Watkins, when they play with the Ravens, Sammy Watkins say, I'm telling all the secrets. I'm telling everything. Orlando Brown said, no, I'm not going to do that.
He did.
Tom Brady said, Tom Brady's spilling his guts. Tom Brady's, you know, Skip, you say if you get captured, name, rank, and serial number. Tom Brady said, let me tell you what we planning on doing. We was about to hit y'all at 4:30 p.m. Tom Brady's going to tell Todd Bowles everything that possible could happen on a Sunday night. Tom Brady has a decided advantage in this matchup.
Really?
Yes, absolutely, 1,000%.
Yeah. I have had to sit over here for 5 long years hearing you talk about Bill Belichick, the GOAT coach.
Yeah,
the greatest coach ever. Defensive genius.
Yes.
We always go to genius level, right?
Yes, he is. Yes, absolutely.
That Bill Belichick, beyond any coach who's ever coached, can take away what you do best.
Right.
He will take your strength away, and he will make you play with one arm tied behind your back.
Yes.
Am I correct about that? So why wouldn't that operate against the GOAT quarterback?
Because the GOAT quarterback, he also knows how Bill thinks. See, like you said, Coach Belichick is that But Tom Brady's like, I done had 20 years with you. I sat in those meetings. I know what you were thinking when I come out in these formations.
Why wouldn't the idiot savant, as Kraft called Belichick, be savant enough, be genius enough to unthink the way he thinks? Why wouldn't Josh McDaniels unthink the way he thinks?
It's hard to do it, Skip. It's hard to change the way you call plays in 1 week. It's hard to do it because now you're asking what you've been teaching over the life and what they've taught all through OTAs, all through training camp, all through the first 3 games. So what we're going to do, this doesn't mean that now. This means something different. Now, next week, we're going to go back to the previous week. That's almost impossible. That's why a lot of times, if you notice, Skip, a lot of Coach Belichick's assistant, they beat him when they play him. Matt Patricia beat him.
That's true. Detroit, he did.
The offensive coach, Josh McDaniels, when he was in Denver, he beat him.
Yep.
Romeo Crennel, he beat him.
Yep.
Bill O'Brien. So they have success because they know how he thinks. They know. Tom said, I know all the bodies are.
So maybe he's not the GOAT coach, as you have insisted, and I have not insisted.
Ernestine knows everything about Skip. What he likes, you don't drink coffee. You know what time he's going to roll out of bed. He's not going to hit the snooze button. He's going to have his shoes right there. He's going to be on the treadmill at this point in time.
That is correct. Exactly.
Exactly. And she's been with you for 15 years, right?
I keep saying our Maltese Hazel, I say, she's such a creature of habit. And Ernestine rolls her eyes and says, like her dad.
Yeah. Right? And Tom, Skip, he's already told you.
Okay.
I know everything.
Okay, so this is what I believe the genius Belichick will try to do. Who has become the security blanket this year so far through 3 games for Tom Brady? It's that guy Gronk from New England.
Right.
So Bill will say, I take Gronk away from you. That chess piece, I'm going to just take him right off the board. Who would be second in targets? Will it be Mike Evans? Okay, when in doubt, I'm going to throw it to the tall guys, the 6'6" guy or the 6'5" guy.
J.C. Jackson will probably take Mike Evans.
I think they will both be doubled nearly every snap. Okay, that leaves the little guy in the slot who was on COVID list last week and is back. And he's got a little axe to grind with New England himself because he got ridden unceremoniously out of town by Mr. Kraft. It was because he did it to himself.
Right.
I'm talking about AB, right?
Right.
So I believe AB could have a big night in this game. And there's this other guy named Chris Godwin who is really good.
Yes.
He just gets better by the snap to my eye. And Brady's starting to trust him more and more. I think he's going to get a lot of single coverage in this game. Sometimes they go two tight ends. They go Cameron Brate, and Brady loves to throw it to the other tight end. The problem with trying to defense this Brady high-flying aerial circus is he will spread the wealth. He often throws it to 10 different people in a game. Well, it's hard to GOAT coach him because it's just hard that you can't put your fingers in the dike. You know, it keeps springing leaks, right?
And what hasn't the Patriots been able to do in a long time? Get pressure on the quarterback with 4. Now, see, it'd have been great if you'd had Chandler Jones, but you forgot, Skip, you let him walk out the door also. You traded him.
Well, you let him because he had an incident, off-field incident, right? Okay.
But considering that you've taken players with off-field incidents in. But for me, Skip, I just think because Tom Brady has sat in meetings and he's telling Coach Belichick is telling him, if you were in this formation, this is how I would do it. If you motion, this is what I would check to. So he knows that also. He knows how Coach Belichick wants to defense him, but he also can tell, you know, Todd Bowles in that offense, Josh McDaniels, after sitting in there for, what, 10, 11 years with him, what his thought process is.
So I will sum this up by telling you that I believe Brady has a supreme strategic edge during the game over Belichick because I always thought that Brady was 75% of the reason they had a dynasty. So it will validate what I have tried to get through your thick head for 5 years.
It might be waning. I might be taking some of the credit away from Coach Belichick and giving it to Brady.
You're seeing the light.
I'll let you know after Sunday's night game.
We have a battle of young QBs on Thursday Night Football between Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. We'll tell you who has and who will have the better career next.
Good question.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
I look back and it was antiquated, but I cannot argue with the results. And although Tom Brady said, yes, it's antiquated, but the question is, how do you argue with the results? And remember, everybody used to say, they can't be possibly having fun over there. It's so methodical, it's so this and so that. And Tom Brady said, winning is fun, which goes to now, he just blew up 100 years of sports. Winning cures all. Winning masks all. It could not mask his disappointment that he was starting to have for Coach Belichick. And after a while, Skip, it said, you know, Mr. Kraft knew he was a jerk, but he was a jerk that was winning Lombardis. Tom Brady knew he was a jerk and a butthole also, but he was helping me win MVPs and go down and people regard me as a GOAT player. So he was willing. It wasn't until, Skip, everybody's like, it wasn't until when his time came due to have to stand in front of Coach Belichick and Coach Belichick said bye, that everybody's like, oh my goodness, he could do that to Tom Brady? Yep.
Because he believes he can win with anybody.
Yes.
They're cogs in his system.
Even Tom was treated as a cog.
As a cog. He was never treated. And when Tom screwed up, he would hear about it in film sessions with the team.
Right.
He would be called out by Bill in front of the team. Practice would get stopped when Tom misfired or made the wrong call or decision. Brady. You call him Brady.
Brady.
What are you thinking? What are you doing? Show him up in front of the team, which also sends a message to everybody. Nobody's the same. I'll treat you all the same way because you're all disposable to me because I'm the genius behind this operation, right? Okay, so now we get all the way to that 2017 season Super Bowl, and we finally hear a plausible explanation for why Malcolm Butler was benched for the whole game. The guy who played the most defensive snaps during the regular season played 0 defensive snaps in the Super Bowl, and I've told you 100 times on this show, I still haven't heard any explanation because Bill just danced around it. What happened? Obviously, Brady was furious about it afterward. And actually commented on a post, remember, the next
Twitter,
day?
Yeah, on, so maybe Twitter, might have been IG or something.
Like,
but
I love you,
he
Malcolm.
liked the post, yes.
Remember that? Okay, so now we have an explanation, and we'll have a direct hit on this later in the show.
Okay.
But we now know that according to the book, that Matt Patricia got into it, again, the defensive coordinator at the time, who went on to be an unsuccessful head coach at Detroit, Coach Pencil, I called him, but he's Bill's boy.
Right.
He's like the right-hand man.
One of two men that's ever left and been allowed to come back. He and Josh McDaniels.
And he got into it with Malcolm Butler. I don't know the extent of getting into it. I don't know what words were exchanged. I don't know if they cursed each other out or Malcolm cursed.